We have a full moon in domicile aligned with Mars opposing Pluto. And that's on Monday. Like, that's day one of your forecast. So one thing's for sure, this week's astrology is going to be quite interesting. Hi all, my name is Haley Comet. Welcome to my cosmic corner of the internet, and welcome to Magic Monday, which is your weekly look at the cosmos, what the astrology is up to, but furthermore, how you can experience more alignment and more magic within your universe by understanding these cosmic cycles and themes. I'm here every single week to share a co-creative approach to working with the celestial energies. So if that's in alignment with you, we would so love to have you join us. Today we're discussing the astrology and everything you need to know about it from January 13th to January 19th, 2025, which is an action-packed week. And when the planets are busy up there, things tend to get a little busy on this planet down here. We have a lot to get into. So grab something comforting as you listen to this forecast. Grab a snack, grab a drink, grab a fuzzy blanket, grab a stuffed animal, grab your cat to pet with consent, of course. Grab what nurtures you, right? Because we start off this week with a Cancer full moon. So the moon rules Cancer. So this indicates that this full moon is in its domicile. It's in its home turf. And when we talk about Cancer, Cancer is around home. It's around our roots. It's around our foundations. And there is a spotlight this week around what comforts you, what nourishes you. When we consider the aspects of the full moon, yes, there's some nice energies with the sextile to Uranus and the trine to Neptune, but it's also making some harsh aspects to some pretty scary planets, I would argue. It's opposing Pluto and it's aligned with Mars. And so there's a spotlight on what nurtures us, what grounds us, what anchors us, right, with the energy of the Cancer moon, around those rituals, those routines, those places that provide you a sanctuary in order to withdraw, retreat from the outside world, and really gain courage in order to meet sometimes the more scary elements of being here on planet Earth. With the alignment to Mars having to deal with the problems that we need to solve, or the conflicts that are alive within our world, or even just the spiky situations that are making us feel frustrated and angry. And with the opposition to Pluto in Aquarius, there could be a nudge to anchor into what makes you feel safe now without allowing the fear of the future to take over. There is a spotlight on this to start off the week, and it might be just something essential to keep in mind as you navigate the week. Whether you're listening to your Magic Monday forecast or you're about to go into a meeting, take that moment, make a cup of tea, grab your stuffed animal, pet your cat, have those things that kind of bring you back into that space of home and peace and serenity and safety within yourself. That may be something that is important to keep in mind this week. Other celestial events, we have Venus currently exalted in Pisces, squaring off with Jupiter and then aligning with Saturn later on in the week. And with a Venus squaring Jupiter, there's this energy around an outpouring of love, an outpouring of what and who we love. But with the alignment to Saturn over the weekend, it's a reminder that our love must have limits. When we overgive, even if it's out of love and even if it's out of compassion, oftentimes that is actively not a very compassionate or loving thing to do for yourself. Venus exalts in Pisces. Venus is the planet of love. Pisces is around spirituality. It's a reminder that when we get to the crux of love itself, it has no limits, right? We can love somebody even if they're not in our lives. We can love someone even if they're not on this planet any longer. Love is not limited to our physical vessels and to our physical experience. Love can transcend timelines and dimensions and logistics. But during our time here on planet Earth, which Saturn and Pisces makes it clear, we must have limits for the ways that who we love and what we love shows up within our life, or at least the access that we allow to the inner reservoir of our care, our compassion, our selflessness. That's just one dimension of what could show up. Venus is also money. So with Venus square Jupiter, you could be spending, maybe to soothe that Cancer full moon, wanting to anchor into what makes you feel safe. And then by the weekend, have to face the reality of the situation of overspending. We also have the sun entering Aquarius Aquarius on Sunday the 19th, kicking off Aquarius season to all of the wonderful water bearers out there. And this is just a couple of influences that are occurring within your week. So we will, of course, dive deeply into it just as we do every single week, thematically as well as day by day. But before we do, take a step inside my Cosmic Cafe. Let me know, what is your Cancer full moon beverage of choice? What is soothing your spirit? What is nurturing your wounds? What is allowing you, even if things feel a little crazy and busy out in the world, what is allowing you a temporary moment of serenity, of peace? I would love to know, comment below. My drink this week may not be very aesthetically pleasing to the eye. It came out quite a weird color, but it is incredibly pleasing to the tongue. So much so that I just let the camera roll for like 2 minutes. I completely zoned out, looking out the window, sipping this juice in just pure awe, pure delight at what I was tasting. So this is a spinach, apple, and carrot juice, and it is just so divine. These are the moments that I wish that we all really were gathered in a cafe so that you could all try this juice, because it is incredible. It is so good. But that's why the color is the way that it is. The orange from the carrots, the green from the spinach, but it tastes much better than it looks. I'm someone where I get obsessed with things and it becomes like my only personality trait. Do you guys get like that, where you get really into something and then that's your personality trait, or that's like your hyperfixation of the month or of the week? Right now, my only personality trait is my juicer and how much I love making juice. Like, truly a ridiculous amount of brain space has been dedicated to plotting around what fruits and vegetables I'm going to buy next, contemplating different fruit and vegetable combinations that I think would be good. It dominates my thoughts. It dominates my mind. And there's something about drinking juice that just makes me so happy, particularly when it's a combination that I nailed. Like, I nailed the amounts. It tastes divine, delightful. I would say that I definitely nailed this one. Certainly that makes me even happier, but even just drinking juice, it just feels like it charges me up. It revitalizes me. It gives me the sense of joy, which I think is important to protect, especially when things are heavy. You know, we've got this full moon making some harsh aspects. When the sun enters Aquarius on Sunday, it's building to align with Pluto. As we've seen within the news as of late, there's been a lot of Plutonian themes alive as of late, which is destruction and power struggles and just kind of the darker attributes of life, which of course I'm not negating, I'm not denying, but I think it's important when it comes to you navigating your world to be protective of the things, no matter how small, if it's a well-made juice, if it's an anime series, if it's rollerblading, whatever it is. It's important to be protective over the things that make you happy. Be protective over your joy. You know, the energy of Cancer, it does bring forward these themes of defending, protecting. You know, we've got the sun trining Neptune, we have the sun sextiling Neptune. Those are both pulled into the full moon. We truly cannot give from an empty cup. We truly cannot create change from an empty cup. We truly cannot inspire or lead or rebel or innovate or create change from an empty cup. So it's important to have those rituals, whatever it may be, that make you happy, that make you feel a little bit more anchored, that allow you, even in the midst of times that are quite intense, that are quite transformative, that some could argue are quite scary, you are able to meet those challenges and pour out and help and support whatever that may look like, because you have filled up your own cup. So sometimes we have to be a little bit protective over our joy. Maybe that's protecting that you need a workout class at some point this week in order to feel your best. Maybe that's protecting a night on your schedule, blocking it off, that you are unavailable to the outside world just to play your instrument. Maybe that's protecting your obsession with making a juice because it makes you happy and allows you to show up with a little bit more sparkle. And with that being said, my juice is pretty much gone. My juice is pretty much gone. That's the challenging thing. I even had to hold myself back. I couldn't even have the juice in hand in the intro, because I knew if I have this juice in my hand, I will drink it. I will drink it. If it's in my hand, I will clearly drink it. So I'm going to put this down as the juice has already been consumed. We haven't even got to vibe check of the week and I'm out of a beverage. That's the problem of when I make my drink too good, is it doesn't last long throughout the magic month. Hopefully your beverage watching lasted longer than mine filming because the juice is gone. So if you are new to Magic Monday, hello, welcome. Our next segment is called Vibe Check of the Week. And this is where, before we get into the nitty-gritty of the logistics and the dates and the specific transits and when you'll feel them, we like to firstly get you acclimated with just the overall vibe that you could experience just in navigating your week. And to get you dialed into the vibe of the week, I walk you through a hypothetical scenario that feels like it mirrors the astrological events of the week. This is not me saying that this exact situation is going to play out within your world, but if you dial into the overall dynamics and themes and emotions, you may find that similar ones surface as you move through your week. So this week's astrology feels like the following situation, but you can of course sub in whichever details make it more relevant and applicable for you. But we will say, and you and Tom have known each other since you were babies, since you were in diapers. Your moms are best friends, so the two of you were brought up together like siblings. And the two of you truly and deeply know that you have a safe harbor in one another. Like if you need a place to stay, you know you can crash on Tom's couch. If Tom needs a shoulder to cry on, he knows he can come to you. Like the two of you really look out for one another. You have a rich shared history. You have a depth of care and compassion for one another. And you never hesitate around helping him out, and vice versa. You really look out for one another. And it just so happens that within the last couple of months, Tom has hit some financially trying times and has asked you a couple of times if you would lend or give him money, which of course you helped him out with. He knows your financial situation. He knows how you're brought up. He knows that it's not that you don't feel the $300 here and the $400 here, but for you, it's not necessarily a matter of survival, a matter of will I eat or not if I have this money. It's more so the wants within your life. Will I get my nails done? Will I be able to buy my dog more toys? So on and so forth. So of course, when your friend is like struggling and dealing with more like survival matter issues, of course, you're going to not prioritize your wants in order to help your friend out with his needs. And there are certain things that you wanted to do this week. Like you do have to get your car serviced at some point. You do have to get a haircut. And by lending Tom this money, you won't have the resources to do that because you won't get your direct deposit or your next paycheck until Monday. But you're like, okay, my car can wait. My hair is a want, not a need. Tom probably needs it more than I do. So you send it over to him. And so you decide you're going to have a calm, chill weekend at home because you simply don't have the resources at this particular moment to do all the errands that you wanted to do. So you're settled in for a calm, chill Friday night. You make yourself dinner. You pour yourself a cup of tea. You've got a blanket on your lap. You're just about to put a movie on, but you're scrolling through your phone. And on Instagram, and you see that there is a story bubble with Tom's face in the middle. So you're like, what's Tom up to today? And so you click on the story and you see that Tom is at dinner with a bunch of people. He posts a boomerang of him taking shots of Patron with these other people. And of course, Tom is allowed to live how he wants to live, but you are feeling some type of way because here you are having this chill weekend because you lent your friend the last of your money and you're like, how are you affording to be out and about and having this great time when I'm at home having to sip my chamomile tea and watch this movie? Now, that actually sounds delightful, but there are certain things that you kind of wanted to do this weekend that you went without so that your friend would be able to have enough money in order to make it to his next payday. Again, you did not ask what the money was going towards, but you assumed that it would be more of a need than a want. Like, I don't think anybody needs Patron shots and a surf and turf at the restaurant downtown. Like, that didn't seem like a need to you. And you're feeling some type of way because, again, your haircut and your car service was not necessarily a need, but you did go without. And so typically, you would let this go. Typically, you wouldn't make a big fuss about it because you did end up having a good weekend. The movie you watched was great. You went to the park on Saturday. Like, you had a lovely weekend. It wasn't the biggest deal ever. But you did vocalize to your friend that you did feel somewhat let down by that. And it was a misunderstanding. He says, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I just really needed a night out to blow off steam. Life has been so stressful as of late. I wanted to celebrate my new job. I had no idea that it would cause you to go without certain things that you wanted to do that weekend. I'm so sorry. It won't happen again. And so the two of you do have this constructive talk about it. But the next time that Tom reaches out to see if you will lend him money, you decide that you are not going to. You are saving to enroll in a yoga teacher training program, we'll say abroad. And so it's really important for you to be budgeting and planning and saving your money accordingly for that. And so you stand on business. You say, not this time. Not this time, Tom. Maybe ask one of your friends that you were cheersing Patron shots with, right, at the club. Okay, maybe one of them will spot you or help you out here. Oh, and so that's the vibe this week, is this energy around needing to have some limits to our love, needing to have some boundaries to our compassion, needing to have some expectations around our generosity. Because if we don't, we will deal with the ramifications as represented by Venus in Pisces aligned with Saturn in Pisces. Saturn is all around ramifications and consequences. And sometimes that shows up financially as represented by this week's vibe check around, well, I gave you my last $400 and now I had to make sacrifices within my world. That's a consequence. But also what you felt within, those feelings of resentment, feeling like a martyr, feeling like you sacrificed yourself for Tom's fun night out, right? That's actually poison as it relates to certain connections. A lot of times we can think constantly giving and giving and giving is beneficial for any sort of friendship or relationship, but oftentimes it breeds feelings of resentment or feeling taken for granted or taken advantage of to a certain degree, which is poison for connections. But you talked it out, right? You guys got on the right page as represented by Mercury sextiling Venus and Saturn. That's the energy around having a clear and direct conversation rather than letting that resentment fester. And when a situation came up and you know that lending money, particularly if it's for something that's more of a want than a need, you know that it's going to make you not feel good or it's going to make you feel some type of way, you stood on business, right? You grounded yourself in that decision around, no, not this time, not this time. Because Venus exalts in Pisces. Again, you love this person's soul. You want to help out this person. But with the energy of Venus squaring Jupiter and then aligned with Saturn, it's a bit like that book, If You Give a Mouse a Cookie. Have you read that book or are you aware of that book? It basically, the premise of it is around, if you give a mouse a cookie, they'll ask for a cup of milk. And if you give them a cup of milk, then they'll want this, and then they'll want this, and then they'll want this. We're all going to feel this differently. Perhaps it's not showing up around a friend asking us for money. Maybe it's around certain customer desires, around you gave them this and now they want this. There's like this bottomless nature around what's being asked of us, or like the compassion that we're being asked to expend. And at the end of the day, you have to set limits. Like nobody's going to do it for you. Takers will give as much as you will allow yourself to give. And at the end of the day, the only person that you can blame if it gets to that space where you have nothing left to give, however this shows up, energetically, emotionally, what have you, at the end of the day, you have to be responsible for that. Again, people will ask for your energy, they'll ask for your time, they'll ask for your resources, and you have to be discerning around whom you give it towards or what you give it towards. And sometimes it'll seem bottomless, like you try to help someone out once and then they want more and then they want more and they want more. And with Venus and Pisces, our desire to give is coming from a very good place. It's like, I care about you. I do want you to have a fun night out, right? You're my friend. Or I do want to give my customers what they are asking for, but at what cost? With Venus on Saturn, we pay for everything somewhere. You know, this is such an interesting alignment because with Venus and Pisces, Pisces is spirit, Pisces is soul. It is not quantified and compartmentalized. And so with the energy of Venus and Pisces, we can feel like our compassion is boundless, like it extends on. And it does. Like when we think about love, like you saying no to Tom does not diminish the love that you have for Tom. You will, of course, help him out by giving him the couch so that he can sleep on or hearing out his problems. Like it's not taking away for your love for Tom. If anything, it's just protecting it so that you're not allowing yourself to feel resentful sitting on the couch on a Friday night while you see Tom living it up, drinking Patron shots, having surf and turf. Like, you want to protect your friendship and not allow this resentment to bloom between the two of you. And so it's actually protecting that. Like, our love can extend forever and ever and ever, but Saturn makes us confront limits to that around the time that we can show up for those that we love, or the roles that we can play for those that we love, or the resources that we have available for those that we love. Like, we're wrapping up Capricorn season this week. Like, we can love someone's soul and we can strive to be as selfless and as compassionate and giving as possible. But at the end of the day, you do need to play by the bounds of reality around. In this instance, because I need to save for yoga teacher training, I do not have the resources to spot you this time. I don't want to be on my couch when I know the yoga teacher training is going on in Bali and I wasn't able to go because I gave you money so that you could go to the club. Like, I don't want to be on my couch when I could be in Bali watching you live your life on Instagram. I don't want that for me. I don't want that for our friendship, because then I know I'm going to make you an enemy and be resentful, even though it was my decision to lend you that money. Like, with Venus Saturn, you have to ground down in the decisions that you make. And even though Venus in Pisces, sometimes we want to shapeshift and adjust around, well, maybe if I just take some extra shifts, then I can be a part of the payment plan next week. Like, at the end of the day, you can show up in the ways that you want to. You can give to those that you love. You can care about those that you love. But with Venus Saturn, sometimes you do have to set limits around, I can't help with this today, or I can't spot you this one time. If you don't have limits, no one will make them for you, and you will feel empty. You will feel drained. And furthermore, you'll feel resentful. You'll feel bitter. And it's not the taker's fault that you feel bitter and that you feel drained. It's because you kept giving. Like, you've got to protect those waters within you, right? Venus in Pisces, it's a water sign. It's compassionate. It's sympathetic. It's healing. It's caring. It's compassionate. If you allow yourself to overgive, you will muddy those waters. You will make those waters murky, because you will feel taken for granted. You will feel taken advantage of. You'll feel drained with nothing left to give. You'll feel bitter. Givers have to have limits because takers have none, okay? And that's the vibe. Have you ever felt this, where it's like someone asks you for a favor and you do this one favor and then they ask for this, or you allow a boundary to be relaxed this time, then they try to push more and they push more. Like, a lot of times people will take any allowance or you shape-shifting or trying to accommodate as the new expectation, and to see how far they can take it with you or how much you will allow. At the end of the day, you got to stand on business, okay? Last week of Capricorn season, Venus on Saturn, it's a loving and compassionate thing to protect your love and compassion. Being loving and compassionate to everybody besides yourself is pretty much the least loving and least compassionate thing that you could do, because then you'll feel bitter and feel like a martyr and feel taken advantage of. You got to protect yourself. So of course, we'll talk about this astrology so much more in depth, everything that you need to know about it. But what you also need to know as you navigate this forecast, I'm located in California, so I utilize the time zone PST. Please adjust to your local time zone, as many of these energies will land at different times and even on different dates than the ones that I state. I also want to highlight I have timestamps below, so you can jump to a particular day, jump back to a particular day. You can also hit the gear icon to speed me up, to slow me down. And I also just want to say, I meant to say in Cosmic Café, but I forgot. These are the same flowers from last week. These are my discount grocery flowers. I took out the flowers that were wilting a little bit more so, but look how well they're doing. The discount grocery flowers, and look at them flourish. Like, I think it's been a week and a half. A leaf just came off, but I think it's been like a week and a half, 2 weeks or something, and look how beautiful they're doing. So thank you, flowers, for being part of our Magic Monday once again. And without further ado, let's go ahead and take it into the astrology for Monday, January 13th. So on Monday, January 13th, we have the Cancer full moon. Firstly, this lands at 2:27 p.m. PST, and it's a very moony moon. Okay, it's landing in the sign of the moon, Cancer. It's on Monday, Moon Day. So the moon is mooning, and when the moon's mooning, the emotions are emotioning, okay? The feels are feeling. And there just could be you feeling everything quite intensely, as though there's another color on the spectrum, and not just your own emotions, really feeling other people's emotions as well. this full moon also squares off with Chiron. And so we could be navigating or feeling some levels of pain, feeling for other people's pain, feeling for our own pain. And so you could also find nostalgia is taking over on Monday as well, really reflecting on how things were and how it is that they are now. And that can be contemplated with some pangs with the Chiron energy, some ouches as you contemplate this. And seeing wherever possible how the past that built you fortifies the future that you are building. Even if there's been painful experiences, honoring how they have made you the person that you are, how they have sharpened into focus the ambition that you have, how even when you think about your hometown and your family and the people who have known you since you were in diapers, right? Since you were a baby, like really thinking of how deeply you want to, make them proud or build a legacy that makes them proud, or even thinking of you in your childhood and the hardships that you endured and really wanting to make that version of you proud. Whatever the story is, there could be something like this coming to the surface. And Cancer also brings into awareness, like I said, our comfort zone, our home, whether that's our physical residence as well as the home of our soul, what makes us feel essentially safe for us to meet the challenges and obstacles within this outer world, right? For us to go out and fight for what it is that we want with the full moon on Mars, fight for that younger version of us to have their dream realized, or fight to advocate for the causes that we hold dear, like the energy of Mars brings to the surface. What do you do it for? What do you do it for? And maybe that answer is something very sacred within. Maybe there's even some elements of pain within. What motivates you? What gives you that fighting spirit to show up, to keep going, to navigate the harder parts of this life? And so you could have some emotional illuminations around the Cancer territory of your chart, specifically where in your chart holds 24 degrees Cancer, whatever house 24 degrees Cancer lands in for you may be an arena of illumination, of revelation, of emotional contemplation, whether it's your emotions or just feeling deeply for other souls as well. And Capricorn deals with what is public, what is out there. Cancer is around what is private, what is in here. And so it could also just bring this awareness around, yes, the goals that you want to reach within your external world, but coming back to, why do I want what it is that I want? Who am I doing it for? Maybe that's my younger version. Maybe that's my family. Maybe that's my family friends. Maybe that's my family friend Tom, right? Like, why do I want what I want? What motivates me to keep going? Because it can feel good to get validation from the external world, but it always fades. That temporary ego trip around posting up with bottles of Patron at the club that lasts for a millisecond, right? You don't live your life to stunt on the internet or to hope that after this accomplishment or after this milestone, then I'll feel successful. Then I'll feel like I've made it. The square to Chiron and the opposition to Pluto reminds us that success can be obsessive. Success can be a bottomless hole. Capricorn within tarot is represented by the Devil card. I don't think I'm able to show it because in a lot of artwork, they are naked. So I don't think I can show it, but it's not that Capricorns are the devil. Okay, that's not it at all, but it represents that materialism or ambition, when done in excess, can ensnare us, can keep us hostage by this obsession of it never feeling to be enough. And so this full moon kind of asks, why do I want what it is that I want? What deeply nourishes me? What is my intrinsic definition of success? Who am I when nobody's looking? What deeply nourishes my soul rather than what validates my ego can also be a nudge here. As well as just a spotlight around what you care about. This full moon trines Neptune, so definitely there's sensitivity, there's romanticizing the past. Be mindful with that, okay? Be mindful around romanticizing the past, but you might find that you are romanticizing your world or able to look at your past experiences with this degree of sentimentality. You might be like looking at old journals, looking at old photos, and just contemplating the person that you've built, the person that you've been, the experiences that you've had, the lore that you have. You've got some lore, my friend. Don't we all? Do you ever like remember a part of your journey and you're like, did I really do that? Like a certain era, or like a time that you lived in a certain city, or a time that you worked a particular job, and you're like, wow, I've got some interesting lore, right? And with the energy of Cancer full moon trining Neptune, you might just be contemplating all of the different twists and turns that your journey has had up to this point. Maybe some of you are missing the past, maybe some of you are appreciating the past, maybe some of you are inspired about the past in some regard with the trine to Neptune. There also feels to be a focus on giving, which is why this week's vibe check was this energy around, helping out a friend. It's a good thing to give. Like with the energy of Cancer full moon, Jupiter exalts in Cancer, the planet of generosity, Like it's important to nourish what we hold dear, or to look out for one another, take care of one another, right? There could be a spotlight with the trine to Neptune and sextile to Uranus around wanting to pour into a particular cause, or wanting to help somebody out, whether that's help out with your time, help out with your resources. There could also be a contemplation of this in some regard. And I also want to highlight about Monday's astrology that early in the day, we have the Capricorn sun trining Uranus in Taurus. And so it's befriending, wherever possible, this degree of surprise, of not knowing what is ahead. Seeing wherever possible that we could do that, because of course the energy of Cancer can deal with what makes us feel safe. And a lot of times our past, even if it's been painful, does make us feel more safe because we know exactly what to expect there. Sometimes we have to question what feels familiar if it is something that is painful, because a lot of times we will choose a familiar hell over what could be an unfamiliar heaven, right? And especially with this Cancer full moon opposing Pluto, some of us could feel this full moon around this anxiety over the future, but there is this opportunity to ground yourself in the now, to do whatever possible that gives you a sense of comfort, while also welcoming that we don't know what 2025 is going to have in store. But with the trine to Uranus, it's allowing yourself to be open to the universe surprising you. And that's going to be important, especially when we consider that North Node just stepped into Pisces officially. South Node is officially transiting Virgo, where it will stay until April 2026. I want to let you know that I will have an all signs deep dive, North Node in Pisces, South Node in Virgo forecast live at some point this week on my channel. I've filmed most of it. I have to redo my makeup and film the second half of it. I swear, Mars Retrograde. For some reason, every video that I have filmed during Mars Retrograde has taken 20 times as long. Has anyone else felt that with their work tasks? It's like with Mars Retrograde, everything takes longer, it takes more energy. Nevertheless, it'll be live at some point this week, so make sure to check back to figure out where your sign is being guided to go to and to grow through with North Node in Pisces, and where you may be asked to let go and release with South Node in Virgo. But a lot of this transit is around letting go of how we thought things would be. The energy of South Node Virgo, our plan, our timeline. And the energy of North Node Pisces, it's around embracing serendipity, embracing the magic, things showing up that we could not have even conceptualized, knowing that every single day something could happen that could change our life. And it's embracing the novelty, it's embracing the serendipity. With the energy of Sun trine Uranus, it's letting this world and this experience surprise us. And of course, if we've had uncomfortable surprises in the past, we might resist any sort of change, or even just look towards the future through this lens of fear or what could happen. But there is an ask to ground where it is that you are now, feel anchored where it is that you are now, while also remaining open to where it is that you're going. You may have some twists and turns, some weird side quests and subplots and parts of the journey with the Uranus energy. But hey, at least the universe is keeping us on our toes, okay, with the trine to Uranus. And honor your dreams, honor your gut feelings, honor where intuition is a lot of times protecting you. Our intuition, our inner guidance, a lot of times is protecting us. And even adding that to North Node Pisces, sometimes disappointments, letdowns, redirections are honestly and truly protecting us. I'm sure a lot of you have had that experience where you don't listen, and then your intuition is proven right, and you're like, dang, I knew this, I felt this the entire time. Allow that experience, rather than beating yourself up around why didn't I trust myself, why didn't I listen to myself, allow that experience to sharpen into focus how reliable that inner guidance is, so that if you feel a similar way in a future situation, you honor that. You get out the first time. You follow the nudge the first time. Sometimes we don't need to know the intricacies around why we are being steered away or why we are being redirected or why something just feels off. Sometimes we have a certain gut instinct, we have a certain feeling, but we're like, I still need to see it through, right? I still need to walk through this. And a lot of times, the further that you go, the more that it hurts or the more disappointed that you feel around not listening the first time or trusting that gut instinct the first time or honoring the data that was revealed to you in that dream the first time. And those experiences are helpful because hopefully just sharpens into focus how powerful this tool is within you so that next time you trust it. You're like, I don't need to see this through. Okay, I'm getting a feeling. I had a certain dream. I'm good. I'm good. You know, especially with North Node and Pisces, a lot of times we are being protected, even through the letdowns and the disappointments. And gosh, I so wanted it to be this, but I just feel off. If something feels off, trust that. You know, we got a moony moon, right? Full moon in Cancer. The moon comes out at night. This wisdom sometimes can be mysterious, but it is incredibly powerful. And it is truly a way of protecting yourself. Like when we think about Cancer, we think of this mama bear energy. We think of, you know, protecting what's sacred to us. If something feels off, honor that. Sometimes you get the data eventually around, ooh, I see why I was spared from that. Sometimes you don't. But at the end of the day, it is your best tool. You know, full moon on Mars, your intuition is a tool. Your timing is a tool. Your ability to listen to yourself and trust yourself also, that's another key, is a tool to navigate you towards what's really meant for you and navigate away from what's really going to be a headache, what's really going to be a mess. And when we talk about being intuitive, it is a lot about trust. It is a lot about trusting yourself because we are all intuitive. People who just label themselves as unintuitive just have learned to trust it. They've sharpened their tool and they trust it. They trust what they receive. They trust what they notice. They trust what they feel. If you want to learn to sharpen your intuition, you have to trust yourself. You have to trust yourself as a receiver. You have to trust the nudges that you have within you because it's easy not to. It's easy to go off of what's in front of you, what's visible, what's rational, what's tangible. And Spirit talks to all of us in different ways. One thing that I personally don't play about anymore is my dreams. I don't play about my dreams. If something is shown to me in a dream, I'm like, universe, got it. Cool. Got it. Got it. I've always been a vivid dreamer. I've moon in the 12th house, but in 2024, I started getting very prophetic dreams. And even though information was revealed to me in my dream, I didn't trust it. I trusted more so what I was hearing. I trusted what was in front of me. I trusted what was rational. And I snoozed my intuition. I snoozed my dreams. I snoozed any sort of spiritual modality. I snoozed. And the spiritual modalities were just co-signing something that I felt all along, which was that something was off. And the thing is, I didn't even trust that. I knew something was off. I had a pit in my stomach the entire time of that situation. I was in anxiety. I never felt good. I didn't feel good. I felt emotional. I felt sad. But it's easy to just be like, oh, I'm crazy, or there's nothing wrong. I'm being told there's nothing wrong, or the situation is like this. It's easy to snooze those things. And all of those modalities, all of those dreams, we're just trying to draw awareness to something is off. Like again, when it comes to what comes through within an astrology reading, within any sort of psychic reading, all of it should validate something that you are already feeling. It should not be like brand new information or something that's so out of left field. It should be something that just kind of like validates what's coming to the surface because we don't always trust it. And sometimes these techniques and these modalities bring forward what we were feeling all along and help us trust that. Because I knew something was off, but I wasn't paying attention to it. Tarot tried to get my attention. My dreams tried to get my attention. But I had to see it through. I had to see it through within reality. And I ended up getting hurt. And I'm grateful for that because I do think a lot of times we learn from that. Like trust and believe. Next time I get a dream, next time I get a nudge, next time something just feels off rather than questioning, why does it feel off? Would it feel off if I did it like this or like this? I think North Node Pisces is just taking things at face value around. It feels off. The vibe is off. The vibe isn't vibing. Something's weird here. And I don't always need to see something through in order to just trust that the universe is speaking to me by way of the vibration of it just feeling off or not energetically aligned. Because when it's meant to be, it flows, it aligns. I have no space in my life for things that feel off or things that give me a pit in my stomach or dreams where the universe is screaming at me to run away. And even though it's painful, I'm so grateful because I think sometimes we have to feel a certain way and still see it through, get hurt from information that we knew all along. Like deep down, we knew all along. Because now, next time I have a dream, next time my intuition signals to me, I'm like, I'm good. I'm good. We learn a lot of times when we do get hurt. It's like, Cancer, of course, is the archetype of the mother and the nurturer. And if you are a mom, if you have a dog, if you have a cat, of course, you don't want anything that you take care of to experience any pain ever, right? But when a child touches a stove, they learn, ouch, stove is hot, won't do that again. It gets anchored into their brain to avoid that suffering. And sometimes when we ignore something we knew all along, but we just didn't trust ourselves, we didn't trust how we felt, we didn't trust the nudges that we were getting, that pain encodes our brain in such a way that we really begin to develop that trust. And we really begin to see that a lot of times the universe is just trying to steer you away from painful situations. Even if you feel like it's going to be like this, if you get a weird vibe, if the vibe feels off, a lot of times it's the universe either saying, there could be some pain there, you don't really want to get involved in the situation, or we have something better in store. And a lot of times trusting that guidance, it's mysterious, it's murky. It's a lot of times people will be like, you're crazy, why don't you do this or like this? Because they're looking at the reality, the rational parts of it. But if something feels off, trust that. Mars is how it is that we get what we want. And with this full moon in Cancer, on Mars in Cancer, it's honoring that your emotional sensitivity, your gut instincts, your intuitions are a way to drive action towards what is meant for you and to steer you away from what is not meant for you, which a lot of times can be protection. And so if there has been a situation within your world in which you got a gut instinct, you had a dream, Seven of Swords came out in a tarot spread, or you saw the astrology, but you still saw it through and you got hurt, or you got your feelings hurt, or something painful happened, it's not about beating yourself up or feeling bad about yourself that you didn't trust yourself. It's just really cementing that experience within your mind so that if a similar gut instinct comes up, if a similar message comes up in a modality that you trust, you honor it. You honor that wisdom, even if it's murky, even if all the details have not been revealed within your reality just yet. So on Tuesday, January 14th, Venus in Pisces will square off with Jupiter in Gemini. This occurs at 11:48 a.m. So a couple of themes that I want to bring forward firstly. So Venus is exalted in Pisces. It is sitting comfy, cozy. It is deeply compassionate. It is deeply caring. It is deeply selfless. It is romanticizing our experiences. It is seeing the divinity within everything. It is wanting to escape into sensuality and pleasure and enjoyment, whether that's by way of a long bubble bath, a delicious meal, a walk through the park. We're really wanting to romanticize our lives, right, with the energy of Venus and Pisces. And by all means do so. I mean, square to Jupiter in Gemini, this getting lost, excess, being swept away, right? But I would just say, as you're being swept away, maybe have an anchor of some sort, because Venus then meets up with Saturn later on in the week. And so there's a couple different ways that this energy can show up. Firstly, to speak to love and relationships. Venus in Pisces is around falling in love with the strangers at the coffee shop. It's falling in love with your gym crush. It's falling in love with life, right? And we don't always know all the details. Sometimes they say a crush is a lack of information. That's what Venus in Pisces squared Jupiter and Gemini is giving. Because what Jupiter and Gemini is going to do is it's going to write a story. It's going to fill in the details. It's going to go off the minimal information we have over the stranger at the coffee shop and fill in the details around how this is the true love of your life. And with the energy of Venus in Pisces squaring Jupiter and Gemini, it's not getting caught up at the trailer. Okay, have you ever seen a trailer and then deemed it your favorite movie of all time? No, you got to see the movie. And this can be a good thing. I mean, by all means, fall in love with somebody, have somebody as a muse, write a poem about somebody, by all means, get carried away, but don't get too carried away. That's the vibe. Don't get so carried away that you don't allow yourself to see what is in front of you, right? Because with Venus and Pisces, we could see the potential in someone, or if they only did this, then they could be different, or we could be together, or what have you, and writing this whole story around how they're going to change, how it's going to be this, how this coffee shop person is going to be the love of your life, whatever it is. But at the end of the day, you need to stay rooted around, this is just a coffee shop person, or I can see the divinity in this person, see the potential in this person, but at the end of the day, if they don't see that, if they don't want that for themselves, they don't have to arise to that potential that I see within them. Like, we're all on our own journey. Editing Haley here. Please excuse the brief interruption. We have a disappearance on our hands. We have an investigation underway. By that I mean, I filmed a lot and it's just not on my camera. I have no idea where that footage went. It truly got lost in the abyss. Luckily, we just lost basically the rest of Tuesday, so I just want to illuminate a couple other themes that I wasn't able to express in the footage that was found. Like, truly and honestly, where did that go? Where did that go? If a YouTuber talks to a camera and the camera isn't there to record it and have the footage, did the YouTuber even talk? Anyways, okay, sorry. So I spoke to the romantic dynamics of Venus square Jupiter, but I also want to illuminate the financial dynamics as well as the more hedonistic sides of Venus. The square to Jupiter, there can be this tendency around, overspending, overindulging. Do keep in mind, we are still in kind of the full moon recovery space. Sometimes around full moons, we feel absolutely drained. Sometimes we feel restless. Our emotions can feel a little bit more exaggerated and heightened. And so you could also just be recovering from an emotional hangover, but also like with Venus and Pisces square Jupiter, you could double that on with like a actual hangover, wanting to overindulge in food or in wine or whatever it is. I would also just be mindful of spending. With Venus getting closer to Saturn, I would be cautious around being overly optimistic with the square to Jupiter. That can lead to excessive behaviors, and that can show up within love, money, beauty, pleasure, anything like this. Just be conscious of that. We are in the full moon recovery just because it landed the night prior. I want to let you know that the moon enters Leo at 1:12 a.m., going on to oppose Pluto in Aquarius at 3:53 a.m. PST. So you could wake up feeling a little anxious, and that could even like encourage the part of you that is wanting to escape or numb or drink it away or just not deal with reality, right? Venus in Pisces square Jupiter could be this energy around just wanting to hang out up in a cloud, but just know whatever goes up must come down, right? With Venus squaring Jupiter and then going on to align with Saturn later on in the week, what goes up must come down. So just be mindful, whatever it is that you are turning to, just know that there might be just kind of some consequences or ramifications kind of like building a little later on in the week. I want to let you know that the vibes do improve as we get closer and closer to Tuesday evening. The Leo moon sextiles Jupiter in Gemini. And so there is this energy around remembering that you are the main character of your own story, and you can dress in the ways that you want to dress as the main character of your story. You can decorate this world in the ways that you want to as the main character of your story. You can romanticize everybody that you see as the main character of your own story. There's no harm really around romanticizing and indulging and enjoying. I would just say, make sure you don't write a check that you can't cash, if you get what I'm saying. Okay, back to the footage that we do thankfully have. On Wednesday, January 15th, the Capricorn Sun will oppose Mars in Cancer at 6:39 p.m. PST. And this is an energy where we could be beating ourselves up for having failed to reach unrealistic expectations that we've set of ourselves. We're wrapping up Capricorn season, which sometimes can be this energy around hustle, grind, and get to the top. And with the energy of Mars in Cancer retrograde, it's really this nudge to remember that you cannot beat yourself up to success. Like, you cannot get to the top of the mountain telling yourself that you're not getting to the top fast enough. Like, it is so important to be nourishing and gentle when it comes to the meeting and the reaching of the goals that you've selected for yourself, which doesn't have to be corporate ambition. It could be wanting to be the best in piano, wanting to be the best dog mom possible. Like, with the energy of this opposition, there could be this energy where you're putting so much on your plate and then wondering why you're feeling overwhelmed and why you weren't able to handle it all. It's like, it's the sheer volume of not just what it is that you have on your plate, but also the standards of excellence that you expect from yourself. You know, if you try to do all of the things, there will inevitably be some things that you don't do as well when you are spread too thin. And you don't need to add to the stress of your life by beating yourself up for the mistakes that you made, or because you decided to sleep rather than pull an all-nighter in order to get everything done. Like, again, we burn ourselves out when we continue to go without ever taking time to rest and recharge, which ultimately Mars retrograde is asking us to do. And like I said earlier, I mean, I know me personally, everything has been taking longer, everything has been harder, it's been like swimming upstream, and it's important to be compassionate with ourselves. You know, I was really beating myself up because I didn't get North Node in Pisces up on time of the time that I wanted. And you guys saw how that 12 Days of Cosmos video series went. The videos were late. I was getting so sick of myself saying like, sorry, it'll be tomorrow. Sorry, it'll be posted the next day. Things take time, especially if you have standards of how you like things to be, right? Like a certain expectation of how you'd like things to be. Things take time, and you don't need to add to the stress and the overwhelm around why aren't things perfect. Like, if anything, South Node in Virgo is asking you to let that go. I'm trying to let that go. You let that go. Let's all let that go. Okay? Let's stop expecting perfection from ourselves. And there just could be an energy where you could be stressing yourself out, or just dealing with some conflict, some spikiness, whether it's at work, dealing with certain issues around your home environment, your family environment, needing more of your energy and needing to make certain sacrifices at work in order to accommodate that, or something like this could be alive in your midweek. And this could just also come through around feeling a little aggravated, feeling a little bothered, feeling a little ruffled. You could also find, you know, Mars is like kind of a sticky, mad energy. And with Mars in Cancer retrograde, you could also find you're mad about things from the past. There could be old memories surfacing with all this nostalgic energy around times that people had you messed up, that you're still mad about. There's dimensions of still being angry around navigating your life and wondering, like, why did I never tell that girl who bullied me sophomore year of high school about herself? Or why did I not stick up for myself when those mean girls in 6th grade wouldn't let me be part of their choreographed dance? Like, you could just find that there's like these old angers surfacing that are making you mad, even if it's from the past, even if it doesn't matter, if it's inconsequential. You could just noticing old dynamics could frustrate you. Like, maybe even this experience with Tom sort of inflamed past times in which you felt like he's done something similar. Again, the nature of the friendship is very symbiotic, but you just think of the times that he has put his own needs above your own. Maybe this experience reminds you of the past times that he's chosen himself before you, when you have chosen to help him out before yourself. Again, you really do not benefit when you self-sacrifice. I know it's cliche, but when you're on a plane, they say, put your oxygen mask on before you put anybody else's on. And sometimes we'll get very bitter and resentful when people are looking out for themselves, or they're doing what's best for number one, which, granted, it's not good to constantly be selfish and to not be in tune with other people's needs and try to help people out, right? That's not really the standard of what we should strive for. But I think all of us, especially if you identify with someone who's been an overgiver, all of us have something to learn from people who are very selfish. Like, I am so grateful for the narcissist that I dated, and I mean that straight up. I'm so grateful for the narcissist that I dated, not that because I took on his narcissistic tendencies, but because I watched how he lived his life, and he looked out for number one. Because the entire time I was dealing with him, I just felt so resentful and so bitter and so broken because I was not. And he really showed me what it looked like to not care what anybody thought about you and to do what's best for you. Not how I strive to live my life all of the time, but seeing that behavior up close and personal you have to look out for yourself. Like at the end of the day, you do have to look out for yourself, or else you will feel bitter. Like with Mars retrograde, we could just let this stuff fester and build up and build up and build up until we are feeling like a martyr. And that kind of like poisons and taints that compassion altogether, because it's coming from this place of not being very compassionate or loving to ourselves. So if you are mad about something, mad about, someone who put themselves before you, or mad about somebody who let you down to go do what they needed to do, ask yourself, how am I prioritizing myself? How am I looking out for myself? How am I protecting myself? Because yes, I'm not saying you have to be involved with people who are, selfish, or in that instance I was telling you about, narcissistic, but it's saying that if you find yourself perpetually in spaces where you are overgiving and watering dead plants and feeling resentful and bitter, you've consistently bent over backwards and contorted yourself in order to be what other people wanted you to be, and now you feel empty and drained, see wherever possible you can genuinely prioritize yourself. Like genuinely prioritize yourself. Sometimes it'll involve letting people down. I'm not saying you need to be mean. I'm not saying that you need to be harsh or allow your brushes with the more Machiavellian people in this world taint your gentle heart. All I'm saying is that a gentle heart will be tainted if you continue to give and give and give and give and give and give without limits. Like you will watch yourself become the villain. You really will. So if old anger does surface, ask if it's bitterness or resentment because you did not advocate for yourself, because you did not prioritize yourself, because you did not allow yourself to be mad. Mars retrograde could be things building up and building up and building up, and Tom did this and Tom did this and Tom did this, and then something comes to the surface now that brings about all this old anger, all of this old hurt that we've been holding on to. There could be something like this alive within your Wednesday, or just good old fashioned, burnout, feeling drained, things like this. The Leo moon will trine Chiron about midday. So again, as these areas of your life are inflamed, as you're feeling aggravated and frustrated, ask if there's any core wound within you that needs addressing, or that you want to pour into, or that you want to prioritize. Listen, you're the main character of your movie, okay? Leo moon makes that clear. If you're watching the movie of your life and you see that this customer who's always asking for a special favor is back again asking for a special favor, if you see that this friend who always needs money so that they could go to the club, or so they could go do this or go do that, if you see that the same ex is back begging for a second chance, what would you want the protagonist in your movie to do? It's not their movie. It could be very healing to choose yourself, especially if that's not something that you are prone to do. And you may have some shocks and surprises later on in the day with the Leo moon square Uranus. You could also just be feeling quite restless, just wanting to do something different. Maybe life is feeling a little boring and you're wanting to do something different. Maybe if you were watching a movie of your life, you're like, dear God, and now we're going back to work, and now we're feeding the cat. Like it feels like the same thing every single day. You have free will. Do something different. Do something different. What's a I have free will moment? Like a moment that you just realized I can do whatever it is that I want. Maybe it's typically on a Wednesday night, you would just make dinner and chill at home, but you're like, why don't I go see the sunset? Why don't I go rollerblade? Sometimes we gotta play with life. We gotta remember we have free will and we are the star of the movie. We can shake it up as we see fit and when we see fit. And maybe it's even shaken up around the role, around the one who's always there to give your friends money, the one who's always there to give your ex a freaking 14th chance, or whatever it is. You can shake up the role that you're playing at any given point in time. Anything can happen at any point in time. And I think the Cancer full moon is asking you, wherever possible, to embrace that, to flow with that, with all of this watery energy, and just honoring that it makes the movie a little bit more interesting. So on Thursday, January 16th, the moon enters Virgo at 8:46 a.m., essentially ending a 12-hour long void moon. The moon was void after it squared off with Uranus around 8 p.m. the night prior. So kind of a long void moon with the square to Uranus here. Focus could have been all over, erratic, up and down emotions even. When the moon enters Virgo, it settles down, right? We've got an Earth Sun, we've got an Earth Moon, so there's a call to ground. If you weren't very productive with that full moon and then with the Leo moon main character energy, there could be an energy with Virgo moon around really wanting to ground yourself within the maintenance of daily life, whether that is working out, whether that is meal prepping, whether that is juicing. Thursday is a time to really like anchor yourself within the rituals that allow you to feel grounded. Because, we could stress ourselves out fearing the future, looking out at the future through the worst case scenario, or again through this lens of fear, or wanting to stay in our past or stay in what's familiar. And we cannot control where the road is going to take us. But the energy of Virgo moon, sometimes having your rituals and your routines help ground us in the present moment and take things one step at a time. And it just kind of nudges you to dial into those things that you do that make you feel like you have your life together. Do you have those arenas of your life? Like when I'm cleaning out my juicer, I just feel like I have my life together, right? When I meditate in the morning, I just feel like I have my life together. When I'm wearing a matching bra and underwear set, I feel like I have my life together. Like those elements where even if the big picture, things are a little messy and there's a lot of uncertainties, at least there's something that we feel like we have control over. There's some small details of our life we feel like we have a degree of mastery around. Like sometimes that can be something that is anchoring as we take things step by step, day by day. I also just want to note here that this is the first Virgo moon that we will have with the South Node now in Virgo. It doesn't technically pass the South Node until Saturday, right before the moon enters Libra. The nodes move backwards, so the nodes are situated in the later degrees of Pisces and Virgo. But it might just be interesting to play with this week these Virgo themes and see where you may be called to release some of them. Again, take the nice qualities of Virgo around caring for your physical vessel and doing the things that support your health and your well-being and doing the things that support the maintenance of daily life and that make you feel the illusion of control, right? Can be helpful. But with South Node now in Virgo, there is this cosmic opportunity around seeing where this desire for control is holding us back and releasing that, where this desire for perfection is holding us back and releasing that. And this desire to find fault is causing us to focus on more things to find fault in. Virgo is ruled by Mercury, our mind. And our minds are not wired for us to be happy and fulfilled. They're wired to keep us alive, to look out for things that are going wrong, that present particular survival obstacles. And if you are looking for an area of your life that feels to be a disaster, you will find it. If you're looking for mistakes, you will find them. If you are looking for issues within anyone and anything, you will find them. If you are looking for them, that's why a cynical mind will find more to be cynical about. A grateful heart will find more to be grateful about. So it's just important. It's a beautiful thing to want to devote yourself to standards of excellence, right? It's a beautiful thing to want to improve. But just notice where perfectionism is holding you back. It's interesting. I mentioned that I'm trying, for the love of God, I'm trying to get this North Node in Pisces video completed. I've just had so many issues when recording. And it's been this really fascinating opportunity around just witnessing my own Virgo tendencies, because a lot of you who watch me know that I'm a Virgo moon and rising. So there's a lot of this Virgo energy that, in all honesty, does hold me back. Like, a lot of times I'll repeat something over and over to get the perfect take, or I'll film tons of footage just to edit it down so that I feel like it's perfect. And it's been interesting because I've found the videos where I just kind of flow and go, where I'm not in my head and it's not scripted, are always the videos that perform the best. When I'm actually releasing this expectation around it's got to be perfect and trimmed and all of the blunders edited out and what have you, the videos where I just kind of sit down and vibe, sit down and flow are always the ones that do best. Always the ones that do best. So it might be an opportunity to play with that, whether it's compulsive overdoing, whether it's stressing yourself out around small details that really don't matter in the bigger scheme of things, whether it's holding yourself back from opportunities that can really change your life because you're not sure if you're going to be good at it right away. The Virgo moon is just drawing these Virgo themes up to your awareness and just knowing that We now have South Node in Virgo, so you might be launched forward in this next year and a half, and the eclipses can make it clear around releasing some elements of this. And again, where Virgo is within your birth chart will also indicate a life arena that you are releasing. And that video should be up sometime this week. On Friday, January 13th, at 3:20 a.m., the Capricorn Sun will sextile Neptune in Pisces, which is a cosmic nudge around being compassionate while also being realistic, right? We also see this with Venus aligned with Saturn tomorrow. Realistic level, this could also just be infusing your reality with a little bit of magic, right? Like this is the soundtrack of your movie, right? Listening to the music that make it a little bit more magical. If you're gonna clean out your closet, if you're gonna work on this work proposal, do things that add a little bit more drama, a little bit more beauty. If you're gonna send a work email, why not schedule it for 11:11 a.m.? They don't need to know that you did that on purpose. If you're going to get ready to do this really important proposal at work, do a meditation with an angel before. They don't need to know. Like again, Capricorn energy is very ambitious, and these spiritual tools, these intuitive tools can really be a superpower. They can really be a secret weapon. You don't need to tell your business associates. You don't need to tell the people that you're presenting to these particular tools. It, if anything, helps your own confidence. Like if I'm going into a meeting knowing that I'm going to kill it because the astrology is very aligned, if I'm going into this meeting feeling more grounded and centered and protected by the universe because I did my meditation with Metatron right before, like that good energy, that energy that I hold myself within, that's going to be a self-fulfilling prophecy. I'm going to feel better. I'm going to show up more confidently. So it's infusing these more spiritual rituals and allowing them to help you reach your goals potentially. Just be mindful, I would say, on Friday of overthinking. You know, we start off the day with the Virgo moon squaring Jupiter in Gemini, so you could be feeling overwhelmed. There's a lot on your plate. The Virgo moon does oppose Saturn later in the day. There's a lot on your plate, a lot to do, and you could be feeling lost around what to get started, what to prioritize. Make a list. Virgo moon, trine Mercury and Capricorn absolutely encourages you to make a list. Allow that to soothe you, see it visually. Again, there could be a little bit of stressful circumstances, maybe even something unpleasant you need to acknowledge with the Virgo moon opposing Venus, the Virgo moon opposing Saturn. That happens in the afternoon. It could also just be certain elements of your day feeling blah, having to kind of pull yourself back from being in fantasy or something like this. Ground yourself down one step at a time. On Saturday, January 18th, I want to let you know first and foremost, Venus, who is exalted in Pisces, meets up with Saturn around 5:30 p.m. PST. And here's the thing, you know, Venus in Pisces is pouring out all sorts of blessings around love, around compassion, around romanticizing our life, but we're having to acknowledge some unpleasant realities with the energy of Saturn. You know, we can romanticize our weekend of drinking chamomile tea and watching movies and going to the park. We can romanticize it, but it doesn't take away from this uncomfortable truth, this uncomfortable acknowledgement around, oh, I didn't have the resources to do what I wanted to do this weekend because I lent them to somebody who was spending it on something that I probably wouldn't have felt was necessary enough to inconvenience someone else with. Again, that's me. That's me. It's uncomfortable. And you know, Venus in Pisces wants to get lost in a cloud. And with the energy of Saturn, there might be something that's kind of pulling you back down to planet Earth. Maybe you got carried away with your gym crush earlier in the week, and this weekend you get the ick. Like once your gym crush opens your mouth, you're like, okay, daydream shattered. They have a weird voice. I can't get down. I got the ick, or something like this. And of course, Venus is our pleasure of life. And with the energy of Saturn, you could just feel a little limited from pleasure within your life. Maybe not feeling abundant in the resources in order to fully enjoy your life. Whether you, like our protagonists, are a little short until next payday, or there's an energy around you set a certain financial goal and you need to save and budget and plan for said financial goal, causing you to feel a little scarce, but again, for what it is that you're building towards. This is represented within the vibe check around your yoga teacher training. You've got to save and plan and make sure that you're on track in order to reach this goal, which is going to be a dream, right? With Venus and Pisces. But sometimes our dreams take sacrifice with the energy of Saturn. And that's what's interesting. You know, you could have a dream job, you could have a dream relationship. There are going to be hard days. That's the thing. There's gonna be hard days. The dreamiest person, the dreamiest job, there's gonna be days when it's a person and there's days when it's a job. You know, there's like reality parts to it. And sometimes it's hard to get what it is that you want, because you get what you want, and then with the energy of Saturn, you recognize the work that it takes to maintain it. If around, gosh, I wanted this job so bad, and now I recognize all this pressure that's on me, or I wanted to be able to support myself with my art so badly, and now I'm here, but now there's different pressures on me or challenges that are alive. You know, getting what you want, getting your dream realized is not always easy. Like, it does come with drawbacks and sacrifices that our imaginations don't always consider. And maybe for you, if you want a dream to materialize, this could be a time around getting it on a plan, getting a certain timeline. Be open if this universe takes you on a journey that is not what you anticipated it to be, you know, South Node Virgo, but our dreams take discipline. Venus in Pisces conjoining Saturn in Pisces. It takes showing up for it. And that could be budgeting, saving. It could take working on our relationship, with Venus being love, as well as maybe even sacrificing what would be immediate gratification in order to build towards the long term. But when it comes to our love, it does have to have limits. It's not that the actual love has limits, that we can only love to a certain amount, but the amount that we are willing to withstand, or the treatment that we are willing to put up with, must have limits, right? Because then it's not love. Certainly not to ourselves, certainly not to others. You know, it's the last day of Capricorn season. We've got Venus and Pisces aligned with Saturn. Sometimes tough love is necessary. That conversation with Tom was not so pleasant, right? But it was necessary to both be loving to yourself as well as loving to this person. And the people in our life should call us out. If we are not being great people, if we are causing harm, who else is going to call us out besides the people who are near and dear to us? And not in a mean way or judgmental way, just saying, hey, I'm your friend since we were in diapers. And you prioritize these random people that you just met. You prioritize buying shots for them. You inconvenience me to impress these people that you barely even know. Like, I'm being honest with you because I love you and I want more for you. And I want you to get your priorities in check. You know, I have a bestie who is an Aries sun, Aries moon, Aries rising, best friend. And she always calls me out, and I'm so grateful for that. But we were in New York last summer, and she was like very straight up with me on that trip, where she was like, listen, you got to go to therapy. Not in like a judgy way or a bossy way, but she was just like, I've known you since we were 18. Something's off, girl. Something's off. That wasn't the most pleasant conversation, but that was impetus I needed. I looked at this friend that I've had since I was 18 who was telling me, you're behaving differently. I'm worried for you. Like, that's not comfortable to go there. And that's not me into this awareness around, wow, she's saying it, like I must. That was the most loving thing that she could have done. You know, loving somebody is not feeding their delusions and allowing their bad habits and, you know, softening them from any particular blow to their ego or avoiding any sort of uncomfortable circumstance. Like, she really not only just encouraged me to go to therapy, but after our trip to New York, she would habitually text me like every week or so and be like, have you booked it yet? Have you scheduled it yet? Again, it really wasn't in a forceful way. Like, genuinely, she was just checking on me and like just giving accountability. And genuinely, going to therapy was so helpful in my case. I know it's not for everybody, but in my case, it was genuinely huge, and it genuinely changed my life. And I'm so grateful that someone who knew me, who has known me so intimately, loved me enough to be honest and to give me tough love. And with Venus Saturn, sometimes us giving people exactly what they want from us at any given time, sometimes that delays their growth. Like, sometimes people really need to deal with the consequences and the ramifications of their actions. Sometimes that's very loving, and it supports them on their spiritual journey around, just because I love you and I'm kind and compassionate to you and I want the best for you does not mean I'm going to allow you to treat me every which way. And you disrespecting me in that situation with the club and the Patron, we don't need to hash it out again. That situation, it enforced the new expectation or the new limit I have around, next time you ask for money, I'm not going to be as comfortable. And that's a consequence of how you treated me. How we treat one another has consequences. And we don't need to do people's push-ups for them. Again, we could be loving and honest, but we have to detach. We have to step back. We have to know that at the end of the day, we need to grow. If we want to grow, it's a decision that we make for ourselves. But what you have control over is just what you allow. what you allow, what behavior that you persist to continue. And sometimes people learn that lesson by losing you. And you need to stand on business with that. You need to stand on business with that. The absence of your presence is punishment enough. Sometimes people need to lose you in order to learn a particular lesson. That's why it really doesn't behoove anybody to stay in cycles where we're overgiving and we're giving all of these chances and staying in situations that we know are not good for us, because we're also perpetuating that behavior in that other person as well. And sometimes it takes somebody to stand on business and be like, no more, no, no more. I love myself too much to allow this to continue. And I love you too much to allow you to think that this behavior is okay. Honestly. And you got to stand in that. That's the thing. With Venus Saturn, maybe we'll say within the vibe check, after you make that decision, you're like, was that the right thing? Was that mean? What have you? You got to just stand and ground yourself within the decisions that you make. Don't expend energy thinking about what if things could have been like this, or what if I would have done this. You got to anchor yourself around, it was what it was. I handled that situation as compassionately for myself and the other person as possible. I walked away because I felt some type of way. Like, you got to ground down, not get too caught up around the shoulda, woulda, couldas. Can also be an energy here. And I say that particularly because the moon's in Virgo for the first portion of the day. It sextiles Mars and opposes Neptune. So again, getting lost in fantasy, but with Virgo moon more so around worry, or should I have done this? Or if I was only more this, would it have been more this? Try not to get too swept away with that, especially when we consider the moon passes the south node today for the first time since this new north node, south node journey. And keep in mind, when we talk about the nodes, they're the most alive and the most active during eclipses. They're not actually celestial bodies, they're just calculations, but might be interesting to see where there might be a little bit of nudge of letting go. And maybe that's even letting go of control, or letting go of staying stuck in fantasy around the different ways that it should have gone, or if you did the right thing or if you did the wrong thing. You did what you need to do with the information or with the feeling that you had at the time. And with Venus Saturn, sometimes it's hard to stand on business, or it's hard to dispel tough love, but to be loving to yourself, that's exactly what you have to do. The Virgo moon trines the Capricorn sun at 6:01 p.m. Brief void moon. The Virgo moon trines the Capricorn sun at 6:01 p.m. The moon then enters Libra at 7:33 p.m., which draws our awareness to connection and balance and harmony. Again, we can't have true balance and a connection if one person is being resentful and holding on to things and not vocalizing what's hurting their feelings or the treatment that they expect. It's not really balanced. Again, it just kind of feeds loops of people pleasing or even codependency or things like this. It's not powerful. And the Libra moon then trines Pluto in Aquarius that evening, which reminds me, there's this reader that I always listen to, and she'll say in her reading sometimes, she's like, how can you be a power couple if only one of you are in power? And that's the vibe of the Libra moon trine Pluto. If you're trying to make excuses for somebody, or you've given chance after chance after chance, this person's not changing, they're not leveling up, they're not treating you right, like that does not signify that they are coming from a very empowered place themselves. And sometimes us allowing that sort of behavior, it's actually holding them back from doing what's necessary to get themselves into a more empowered state. So with the energy of Libra moon trine Pluto, honor the power within yourself and, the friendships or the partnerships in which there is that power couple energy. I want to share that this evening, Mercury in Capricorn will sextile Saturn in Pisces, who it answers to. And this is an energy around looking at what we want, reverse engineering the practical steps in order to make that a reality. Like giving your dreams an action plan. Dreams without an action plan are just dreams. Even if you write something down, like write down a certain vision that you have or have a conversation about it, it makes it more real. It draws it closer to you. And with Mercury in Capricorn sextile Saturn in Pisces, there also could be an energy around making certain decisions, communicating something very pragmatically, being very straight up, being very straightforward. It could absolutely be delivered in a loving way as well. We have Mercury sextiling Venus in Pisces. It lands tomorrow, but there's an energy around being direct, being straight up, as well as being very pragmatic. What we want, how we're going to get there. On Sunday, January 19th, I want to share firstly that Mercury in Capricorn sextiles Venus in Pisces. So Mercury sextiled Saturn last night, sextiles Venus this morning because we had that Venus-Saturn alignment. So really with the energy of Mercury in Capricorn sextile Venus in Pisces, there could be an energy around being very pragmatic around something that will bring more beauty into your life. So maybe you're making a decision around artwork or furniture that you're buying or something like this. With Mercury in Capricorn sextile Venus in Pisces, there could be some flirtiness alive currently, or even like within your relationships, within your partnerships, talking about what the two of you want, helping one another stay accountable around whatever visions and goals you're wanting to reach for, especially with this sun entering Aquarius. This happens at 12 p.m. and kicks off season of the water bearers. I want to take this opportunity to wish all of my Aquarians a very happy birthday. Aquarius, what would we do without you? Truly and honestly, what would we do without your sense of humor, your appreciation for the bizarreness of life, your intellect? You guys are so brainy. You guys are out of this world. Truly, what would we do without your rebellious nature, your ability to envision how things could be? Thank you for keeping the cosmos interesting. I hope that you enjoy your season and that you have some fun birthday celebrations planned. I do want to say, now that we're in Aquarius season, the sun is building to align with Pluto, which could bring up power struggles, fears, destructive themes, things like this. There could be a lot that's happening out in the world with humanity, but the Libra moon trining Jupiter in Gemini, it's important to tune into where you feel connected, to nourish where in your life you feel connected, to nourish where in your life you feel seen, or what gives you a sensation of hope. You know, there's a lot in this world that we could freak out about. Trust me, I know there's a lot that we could freak out about, and it's important to hone in on what does give you a semblance of hope, or the beauty that you see around you, or the connection that you see around you, or even if you're wanting love at this time, you know, with the Libra moon trining Jupiter in Gemini, it's knowing that who you seek is also seeking you, and knowing that they exist because you exist. I always say to my clients, if they're calling in love, I'm like, write down qualities that you're calling in and then look at that list and make sure you're meeting and matching that energy. Because if we're calling in somebody who is emotionally intelligent, if we're calling in somebody who is financially stable, if we're calling in somebody who makes their life into a work of art, are we doing that? Can we match and meet this energy, right? And if no, that just gives you the impetus to do whatever necessary within your life so you can match this person's energy. And if you look at that list and you're like, hell yeah, I'm there, they exist because you exist. They exist because you exist. Again, with Sun on Pluto, it's easy to have fear of the future or fear of not being able to have what it is that we want way out. But with the energy of Libra moon trine Jupiter, there should be a sense of hope or optimism alive within your Sunday, even though the sun's building to align with Pluto, which is not so pleasant. So my loves, that is our week. The Magic Monday mantra of the week is, I enforce the boundaries that protect my heart and protect my healing. Boundaries are for you. They're in place for you. And when we have leaky boundaries, we can feel like, well, it's out of the goodness of my heart. It's because I love. It's because I care. Like I was saying earlier, we cannot call in what we are not already embodying. You might think it's being loving to this other person to allow them to get away with this, that, and the third, or to overgive yourself, but how could you give what you are not embodying within yourself? You're not being loving or compassionate to yourself when you're doing things out of resentment or being a martyr. So how could you possibly expect to be loving and compassionate for somebody else? Start seeing being loving as having certain standards, having certain expectations, having certain boundaries. Important side note, like I said, Venus in Pisces, it's important to love people as they are. You can love people as they are and love them from a distance. Be like, listen, I love you, live your truth, Tom. Go pop bottles in the club, but I don't need to lend you money any longer, or I don't need to spend as much time with you, or I don't need to, in other situations, I don't need to have you as my life partner. Like, you can love someone, love their journey, love their path, while also saying, yeah, I'm gonna love you from afar. Because I also love myself. And if this energy brings in confusion, if it brings in me feeling like I need to sacrifice myself or bend over backwards in order to have you within my life, absolutely not. We're actually going to do a quick story time. This is from Build the Life You Want, the art and science of getting happier. I don't know, I got it from the library. The part in this book that talks about empathy blew my mind, so I want to read it out loud. When empath first entered the English lexicon, it was anything but a compliment. The term was coined in a 1956 science fiction story about beings who could feel others' emotions and use them to exploit workers. Empathy is not feeling sorry for someone in physical or emotional pain. That's sympathy. Rather, it is mentally putting yourself in the suffering person's shoes to feel their pain. Evidence suggests that empathy really can lessen other people's burdens. However, this release comes at a cost to the empathetic person. In 2014, researchers showed that training people in empathy tended to raise their negative feelings in response to others' distress. This makes sense. If you take on others' pain, you will have more pain in your own life. But empathy can also wind up hurting other people. In his book, Against Empathy, The Case for Rational Compassion, the University of Toronto psychologist Paul Bloom argues that empathy can make us worse at being friends, parents, husbands, and wives, because sometimes an act of love involves doing something that causes pain rather than relieving it, such as confronting an awful truth. You could no doubt think of cases in your own life when feeling too empathetic prevented you or someone else from giving the tough love someone may have needed. If instead of helping a loved one you think is making poor life choices, you were simply empathetic, it might relieve his suffering briefly, but it wouldn't help him get on the right track. Compassion, however, helps both the sufferer and the helper. In the 2014 study that showed empathy training worsened mood, some participants were given training in compassion instead. Compared with empathy training, compassion training blocked their negative feelings and thus raised their overall mood after they witnessed the pain of others. Compassion also benefits the sufferer. For example, doctors who are more comfortable around patients in pain may be more successful administering painful treatment. Learning to look analytically at others' discomfort and providing help can transform another person's burden into an opportunity for both of you to feel better. And I feel like that's important because Pisces in and of itself is considered a very empathetic sign, and even the Cancer full moon, feeling all the things. And we can care, we could want to help someone out, we could want to nurture them without feeling like we need to take it on ourselves. Like striving for compassion rather than empathy is the goal here, and knowing that those boundaries are in place around, I'm not going to take this on, or this is not my circus, not my monkeys, or I don't have the ability to help in this particular arena, can be what help protect our compassion. Because like I said, when we overgive, when we take it on ourselves, that will poison and muddy our own compassion. It'll poison and muddy our own love. We'll be bitter, we'll be resentful. It's not loving for ourselves nor the other person. So definitely have your limits, whether that's your rituals, your routines that help be compassionate for yourself, looking for opportunities to be compassionate to others. I hope I was clear this week. Don't overgive to your own detriment, but absolutely look for ways that you could be a shoulder to lean on, that you could help out, that you could donate wherever it is that you feel called, but strive for compassion, not empathy. It will lead to a more compassionate world. So that is our week. If you made it to the end of the forecast, go ahead and comment below the apple emoji. Just a shout out to my juice because it was absolutely delightful. The way that I'm already looking forward to waking up tomorrow and making another juice. Is this an obsession? Is this an obsession? At least it's a positive obsession, okay? Let me have this. My Instagram handle is @HaleyCometAstrology. My TikTok is the same, though allegedly that's going away on Sunday. That'll be interesting to stay in touch with, but that's where I can be found in other parts of the internet. But until then, I'll see you back here, same time, same place next week for next week's astrology. And until we meet again, drink lots of water and stay